Hello, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Keith. So, AI is replacing all white collar jobs within the next 18 months, and freshmen in college aren't going to have jobs waiting for them when they graduate because all entry level jobs will be filled by AI agents. This is what the headlines are this week that I have been seeing all over the place. And we have to talk about this because we are looking at this all wrong. And I am so fired up in excitement that I have to share it with you because, of course, the news is going to spin it as this horrible thing. And there are negative aspects. Don't get me wrong. We will get into those. But again, like your perception creates your reality. And you can look at AI as the end of your job, the end of your income, the end of the world, whatever. Or you can shift your perception and ask yourself, how can I use this to better my life in every way? And we're going to get into that. Before we do, I want to make myself feel a little better by reading a review of the podcast saying the title is the best law of attraction podcast. Yes, this is from Vitamin D. Stephanie's podcast is literally my favorite LOA podcast. She drops the best tips and gems and has improved my whole entire life and business. Thank you, D. I love that. And if you have not yet left a review, truly, 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 it means the world to me. I actually read them. Um, so I appreciate it and it keeps me going and providing all of these free episodes. I don't even know what we're at, like 300 something, 400, I don't know. And it just helps other people find the podcast. Like reviews are actually a really big deal in the podcast world. So if you are a listener, it would just take a minute to leave a review and it literally like means the world to me. It's the best thing you could do to support the show. So I appreciate all of you who have done that already. And yeah, let's get into all these headlines. So now we've talked about this before. You've heard me say, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. It just is. This isn't, a mystery. Of course it is. But let me tell you something. History repeats itself. If there's one thing I learned in the public education system, it's that history repeats itself. I had a really good history teacher, Miss Mitchell, my sophomore year of high school. She's who I was with when we heard about 9/11. Um, everyone like remembers that moment. I was with Miss Mitchell and I just remember she really ingrained it in our brain that history always repeats itself. And she gave so many wonderful examples of that. And so she said, if you can look at history, you can predict the future. And it's true. So think about, let's just go back even a few years to COVID. Okay. COVID came out of nowhere and the whole world changed very abruptly. Okay. And even now, like if we look back to what the world was like pre-COVID, it is very different now. Like we think, oh, it's behind us. But no, it like fundamentally changed a lot of things that I don't even think we realize until we stop and talk about it. So the whole world shut down. Zoom became like a huge thing. I don't even think most people knew about Zoom before COVID. There was like Skype for a while. Now everyone uses Zoom. Video calls are normal, and remote working became a thing. Okay. This became like where all of a sudden it was acceptable and normal to work from home. It changed the whole corporate world. It changed the cost of overhead. It gave employees some more flexibility. And yes, some people return to the office, but there's still a lot of people who are at home to this day because of COVID. Also, um, I think it's so funny when people are like, "Oh my gosh, we're moving towards a cashless society." And I'm like, where have you been? COVID was the move from a cashless society. Because if you will recall, we weren't supposed to use cash because it's spreading germs, everyone's touching it, and places like weren't taking cash. And that's when like everything changed with like the tap to pay. And it completely shifted the way we pay for things and also made it acceptable for businesses to stop accepting cash. Like if we go to Busch Gardens or Disney, it's cashless. Like you can't even bring cash. So I'm just giving an example of like how one thing changed our whole way of being, our whole, a whole aspect of how we work, how we pay for things. And that's just like one of many examples. Let's not get too far in the weeds, okay? The other big one from, my lifetime, uh, that some of you younger people have not gone through is the internet. So the internet replaced a lot of jobs, and the internet, all the same fears around AI are the same fears back when the internet became like used by everybody. There were security threats, nobody trusted it, and it's going to replace jobs. And guess what? It did. It replaced a lot of jobs. But I think we can all agree now we don't want to go back to a world where there was no internet. Like it made our life better in ways we couldn't even fathom before the internet was around because we just didn't know any better. Think about even the Industrial Revolution and factories. Like, when's the last time you met a shoemaker or a dressmaker? You know what I mean? Like, that now there's just factories that make all this stuff, right? So, smartphones, like, there's entire customer service industries, workers that were laid off because people can do just about everything for themselves now on their phone, like book their own flights and hotels, and entire malls closed because now there's online shopping. So history repeats itself. There's always going to be new technology that does replace a lot of jobs and changes the world as we know it in ways that we can't even fathom until we get there. And AI is no exception. I've talked about in a past episode electricity. Like, imagine going from no electricity to now. How many, go throughout your day. How many times do you use electricity? Like, everything in your life has changed because of electricity. So, AI is going to be like that, where everything is going to change. And again, perception creates your reality. Perception is everything. And so, yes, there are risks. Yes, there are very important things we should be talking about as a society. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to live in fear and terror. Instead, I'm going to look at this as how it's moving forward, regardless or not, whether Stephanie Keith is on board with it or not. So I might as well get on board and figure out how can I use this to improve my life. So this episode isn't to convince you that like AI is not going to take over your job someday. It's to convince you that actually, perhaps, if you have an open mind, AI could be the answer to the very thing you've been trying to manifest for years. Okay, so I guarantee if you're a listener of this podcast, you've probably tried manifesting money, abundance, more freedom in your life. But the reality that our society has been living in for far too long, in my opinion, was that you have to trade time for money. Either like literally like working, scheduled hours and getting paid per hour, or being in a salaried 9 to 5 job. But your job took up the majority of your life, realistically. I mean, it may be a while since I've been in the corporate world, but I remember vividly you work all day. Like from the moment you wake up, you're already, rushing to get out the door to get to work on time. Then you're in work all day. And then you got to rush to get home, get your kids, make dinner. And by the time you're done with like all the things you just have to do to like survive and take care of your kids, you're exhausted. There's not much time for anything else. That's the world we've been living in. And even with people that like their job, I know it's weird, but there are people that like their 9 to 5 job. I would still venture to say that they are stressed, that they have burnt out or are burning out merely from the amount of time and energy that goes into a full-time job. Like even if you love your job, you probably don't love that you're away from your kids all day, every day, or that you don't have enough time to run to the grocery store. Like it takes up so much time and energy. And that has been the paradigm for a long time. But AI is going to force our entire corporate structure to shift. And again, like this isn't new. This has happened all throughout history. The life when there were factory workers versus now is very different. So this is just changing again. And the question is, how can you adapt and get ahead of things instead of just being bulldozed by this, right? So what I predict, it's not even what I predict. Like they're saying this now. Like the people who develop the AIs, all the big major companies, they're talking about this every single day. It's no secret. Bots are going to be used for 9 to 5 jobs, specifically to start with white collar jobs. And so what happens with people? Well, I think people are still going to be used for the corporate world, but in a very different capacity. It's going to be more like we want your vision, your creativity, your ideas, which really don't correlate with the 9 to 5 schedule at all. You know, like your creativity isn't tied down to a 9 to 5. They've actually done studies on it. It's tied down to like a 2 hour window. So, right there, that could be the very thing that gives you freedom, but also gives you fulfillment. Because now, like, you're not just running through the motions of the day, you're actually using your brain and your creativity and your intuition and, you know, your imagination to help companies. So, even with that being said, there are going to be a lot of workers that are going to be replaced. And not everyone, unfortunately, is going to be picked for their vision and their creativity. So that's why I'm here to convince you in this episode to pick yourself. And you might be thinking, Stephanie, I am not creative. I don't have any big vision ideas. And I'm going to say no shit. The reason you're not creative or you think you're not creative and you think you don't have any big vision ideas is because the current system that you've been living in has kept you so worn out and exhausted that you don't have time to just let your imagination run wild. You don't have time to just be creative. That's been conditioned in us to be like an extracurricular activity that you do on your own time. But I guarantee if you started to work that muscle of creativity, of imagination, of vision, you would build it and you would build it pretty quickly. We all have creativity within us. It doesn't just go away with adulthood. It is still there waiting for you to give it some attention. Okay. Now, up until, I don't know, the last 10 to 20 years, we didn't have the resources, or most people didn't have the resources to start a business, even if they wanted to. So in the past, people had to risk their entire life savings or like go get a bank loan and put their house as collateral to start a business. Now, thanks to technology, you can do it for next to nothing. So I think about like my parents. They owned an ice cream shop when I was little. They had to go and get a brick and mortar location. They had to buy all of the equipment. They had to put out like ads in the newspaper and like do all this crazy expensive marketing so people would know that they're there. And all of that is, I mean, yeah, you still can get a brick and mortar, but you can have an online business set up by the end of today for next to nothing, thanks to the current technology. Okay. So you might be thinking, like, okay, if I lose my job, yes, I would have time to let my imagination run wild, but how the hell am I going to pay the bills? What am I going to do to still afford to live? And this is where I'm going to tell you something very important. If you can listen, truly listen, and actually apply what I'm going to tell you, you're going to be years ahead of the rest of the population. You're going to be way ahead, okay? Because if history repeats itself, there is a big wave coming. And if you can get before that wave, you are going to be in a really good position. So, as soon as the world catches on to the actual impact that AI is going to have on the workforce, people are going to do one of two things. They're going to either flock to trade jobs or they're going to flock to online entrepreneurship. And we're going to see this whole wave of online entrepreneurs. Now, we already saw this during COVID, right? Look at how many people started an online business, started a podcast. Hello, me. Became an influencer during COVID. There was this whole wave. And now, 6 years later, the people that got started back then, well, they're doing pretty damn good. They're so far ahead of the rest of us. There's so many people that are like, oh, I wish I would have started when I had the idea, like during COVID. Don't make that same mistake twice because this next wave is coming and it's going to hit really strong once these jobs are, we're going to see massive layoffs, according to some of these AI people in the next 18 months. So there's a window of opportunity here, is what I'm trying to say. And I think you should take it very seriously. So the best time to start is before the rush while you still have your day job. Just like the best time to look for another job is while you're currently employed. Same thing for starting a business, because a lot of people have it in their mind that in order to start a business, I have to quit my job first and then get started. And that is horrible advice. Get started first and use your business, your income, your job as like your funding for your business, your stability until your business gets off the ground. So I have people tell me pretty much every day that they would love to start an online business, and they immediately follow with a list of excuses for why they can't. They say, I'm not techie. I don't have anything I'm good at. I have young kids, so I just don't have the time. And I tell them, you're right. You can't. It's not going to work for you. And you want to know why? Because you've already convinced yourself that it won't work. Therefore, it won't. If you can't get your own mindset on board, no one else is going to be on board either. So you're sabotaging yourself before you ever even got started. If you truly wanted to create freedom and income, you would find a way. That's the truth of it. So I do want to say that all the excuses people give for why they can't pursue their dreams and, start a business, start making money online, they are very real concerns. Like, I'm not saying, oh, none of that matters, but none of those things are actually what's holding you back from getting started. The only thing holding you back from getting started is your mindset. It's taking that first step that's the most frightening. So the thing that I did when I first got started in my business is I said, if I fail, I can always go find another shitty day job. And I realized I was already living in my worst case scenario. I was burnout, having panic attacks. My boss was trying to fire me. I couldn't be the hands-on mom showing up to all the school functions that I wanted to be. I had to send my daughter crying every morning to before school daycare, where they would literally rip her out of my arms crying. And then I would start crying, and then I'd have mom guilt all day, and it was ruining my life. Okay. That's how bad it had gotten. And I'm like, I'm already living my worst case scenario. So if I try to start a business and it fails, okay, like at least I tried. I can always go get another job that ruins my life. Like that, once I realized that, it shifted everything for me. It made getting started less scary than staying put. And I think that's the big paradigm shift. And that's the point I want to get across from you to you right now. Let's just say AI is going to replace your job. That's already the worst case scenario. So like why wouldn't you like try? Like getting started is less scary than staying put and not having any plan whatsoever and just waiting to be laid off, right? So I don't know. It worked for me, but if you can be proactive and you can start making income on the side now while you still have your job, if and when it does happen and that job is replaced by AI, then you've already gotten like the hardest part out of the way, which is that first step, that first sale. And then from there, it's just scaling. That's the easy part. That's the fun part. It's making your first sale. It's getting everything set up that is really overwhelming and scary. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie, it's hard to take that first step. So I want to talk about some common misconceptions that most people have around making money online. So these people that are like giving me excuses, right? So myth number one is that in order to start an online business, you have to already be an influencer. You have to post videos of yourself daily. You have to be like very interactive on social media. And that brings up a ton of fears. That was actually why it took me so long to start Law of Attraction Tribe, because I was so afraid of posting online and like my boss or my coworkers seeing what I was doing. It was terrifying. And I mean, I thought about it probably for a good 2 years before like I actually did something about it and got started. So back then, it was different. Like you could post on social media and grow an audience really quick, and people would start seeing your content. That was before they had like ads everywhere. And now, so the social media algorithm isn't showing your stuff to anyone. It's like such a small percentage of people. And so the majority of customers nowadays in today's world that are purchasing from me and keeping my business going are people that never followed me on social media. They just happened to see my ad and they clicked on it, and then they became a customer. Then they started listening to the podcast. Then they started, you know, getting on my email list, whatever. So that's the world we're in now. That's how social media has shifted just in the past few years. And, something to think about is with today's technology, you have access to the entire world. Okay. So I think of like my parents' ice cream shop. They just had that one small corner of the village of Schaumburg, right? But now you have the entire internet. You have 8 billion plus people. Surely you can find a pocket of people that are looking for the knowledge or the skills that you have, the product that you have. Like there are people, trust me, I promise you, your people are out there. Um, and it's just a matter of getting connected with them, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, myth number two is that you need to launch this huge course or high ticket like coaching package in order to actually make a living online. And this was the way that it was done again, like years ago, where it did work. But I disagree with that. I think the very best way to get started is with low ticket digital products. We're talking under $50. So this can be audios like subliminals and meditations. It could be workbooks like a online workbook, journal, template, worksheet type thing. Or it could be like a mini course or kind of like a workshop, something that's small, not some big, huge course. And you want to start with low ticket offers, especially when you're new, because when you're new and you don't yet have an audience, you haven't yet built like trust and credibility. So people aren't just going to see you once and want to spend a ton of money. It takes a lot of time, it takes effort to, win people over. And it also takes a lot of time and energy and effort to build out those big courses and coaching programs. Like that is an undertaking. That's a pretty big thing. And a lot of people get discouraged along the way. But with a low ticket offer, you're creating something that can typically be created in a couple hours. Like all of my low ticket products are created within like 2 hours or less. And this is where it's such a huge opportunity, because think about this. You spend 2 hours creating it, and then it sells over and over and over again for years and years to come. So you put in 2 hours of your time and you can reap that benefit for years. because it just keeps selling over and over again because it's a digital product. It's not a physical product where you only have an inventory of 10. It's a digital product where the inventory is infinite and it can just keep selling for as long as people want to buy it. And I don't think people like really grasp how much money you can make even from a low ticket product because it's not requiring your time and your energy. You create it once and then you're getting repeat business. So basically, your return is huge. Like it's all profit after you recoup the initial, whatever, 2 hours it took to build it. The other thing with like a low ticket offer is you're giving people a quick win. So the best way to build credibility and trust and build an audience is to give people a win. That's going to make them want to follow you and buy more from you and keep going. So something that's short enough that they can consume it right away, like the same day. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the majority of people who buy these like big courses, and trust me, I bought a lot of them throughout the years, most people never finish them. In fact, a good percentage of people never even start them. They will literally pay for a course and not even start it and then forget about it. And then the people who do start it typically don't even make it to the halfway point. That's just statistically speaking, it's a very low percentage of people that will actually go through a long program. And I'm assuming that gap is getting even bigger as people's attention spans are getting shorter, thanks to social media and AI and everything else. But when you create a smaller product that they can use right away and doesn't take a lot of time, their completion rate goes up, which means their success rate goes up, which means you have more happy customers. You've won people over. You have more client success stories and testimonials. And something key is repeat customers. Okay, what happens when you have a price point that is low and you give people an early win is they want to binge all of your offers. So one customer will buy over and over and over again, like everything that you have to offer because you gave them a quick win. And it's not such a big price that they have to think about it. Anything under $50 is considered an impulse buy. People don't have to hem and haw over it. They don't have to go and talk to their spouse about it. They just click purchase and they worry about it later. Like they're not going through this mental anguish of like, should I or shouldn't I? It's an impulse buy. So it's like, it's a no-brainer in today's world. Like everyone should be doing this, in my opinion. And I'm just trying to explain like how big of an opportunity this is. All right, that brings me to myth number 3, which is that I'm not good enough to do that. And everyone will know I'm a fraud because I'm not an expert. Who am I? Like, who's going to listen to me? It's called imposter syndrome. And by the way, everyone goes through it in the entrepreneur world. Everyone. Every single person you've seen has gone through it in the entrepreneur world. I've gone through it. I go through it all the time. It's like a repeating cycle. Um, so it's a real thing, and I get that. But this is why I think starting with a low ticket offer is helps you overcome imposter syndrome. Because if you start out with some big high ticket thing, there is going to be a lot of internal pressure that you feel to deliver results. And with high ticket offers, like the more people pay, the more that pressure goes up. And you feel a strong sense of responsibility over your students. But the thing is, you can't make anyone take action. You can't make anyone implement what you learn. And the truth is, most people won't. And so now you feel like an imposter because, like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting people the results because it was just so big and overwhelming. They're not taking action. And it's just a whole thing. And it's a lot of internal pressure. But if you can make implementing what they're learning so easy with a quick win, with a little small ticket offer, instead of having this huge course or program that's this massive undertaking for the student, you're giving them something that gives them one specific result quickly. So instead of feeling overwhelmed, they have one specific action that they take to get one specific result. It's a quick win. So you're not claiming to be an expert that's going to solve all their life problems. You're focusing on one thing that you're good at that solves one problem for your customer. And that helps overcome imposter syndrome. Everybody has something that they're a little bit better at than the average person, at least something. And we'll get into discovering that in a minute. I'll give you an example. I got started in my business selling subliminal audios. So, subliminals, for anyone who's new here, they help reprogram subconscious limiting beliefs and habits. So, each subliminal solves one specific problem. Maybe it's overcoming scarcity beliefs and replacing those scarcity beliefs with abundance beliefs. So, it's one problem, which is scarcity, that's being solved. You're reprogramming scarcity in your mind. The only action that a student has to take is to press play. That's all they have to do. They just press play. So there's really no resistance. There's no procrastination because they literally just press play. And within minutes, they feel pleasant because of the binaural beats and frequencies and calming music. So it's like this nice big, this like exhale for their nervous system. It syncs their brain hemispheres and gets them in this relaxed state. So within minutes, they're getting a win. And then over time, if they keep listening, they're reprogramming their mindset. There's another big win. So you want to find things like that make it easy for people to implement and take action. I'll give you another example. So I have a mini course, Subliminal Creation Lab, where I teach students one skill to create one product in 1 hour. So because it's so quick and easy, the implementation rate is high. Like I literally show people, this is how you create subliminals. You can create one right now within the hour. And it's just like, there's not this overwhelming sense that they have to do a bunch of things. You're doing one task, and I'm teaching you exactly step by step how to do it. Implementation is easy. So the success rate is high. Now, if I were teaching them every single step to running and marketing their business, it would be too many steps. It would be overwhelming and implementation would go down. So that's like the idea of why you should absolutely get started with a quick low ticket offer. So I want to do a quick brainstorming session with you. So if you can get pen and paper, if you're driving, come back to it later or just like mentally brainstorm. I'm actually going to set a 1 minute timer for this. Okay. So you have 1 minute. And what I want you to do during this 1 minute is you are going to write on your paper any skills, knowledge, hobbies, passions, or interests that you have. And anything that comes to mind, no matter how small or silly it is, you're just going to do a big brain dump of anything you can think of, any skill you have, any knowledge, any hobbies, any passions, anything you're interested in. And you're just going to do a big brain dump right now, and I'll set the timer for 1 minute. Okay, let's get started. The other thing I'll say is don't overthink it. As soon as it pops in your head, write it down. As soon as your logical mind gets involved, you're going to talk yourself out of it. So just write it down. Keep going. Got about 15 seconds left. Okay, there we go. So now you've just done a brain dump of like probably a bunch of random things. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? Um, so something I want to point out right away as you're looking at the list of everything you wrote down is that you don't have to be an expert or certified or know everything about the topic. But are you just 1 to 2 steps ahead of the average person on this topic? So, for example, I know how to make subliminals. The average person doesn't. Am I a neuroscientist? No. Am I a hypnotherapist? Nope. Do I have a musical engineer degree? No. But it doesn't matter. I have a skill and knowledge that the average person does not. Okay. So I'm not an expert. I just know how to do something that a lot of people don't know how to do. I'll give you another example. I started homeschooling my kids this year. Am I an expert? No. Do I know as much as moms who have been homeschooling their kids for 10 years? No. But could I help a mom who is considering homeschooling and has questions about getting started? Absolutely. I'm a step ahead of her. Sure, I could help her. So here's the thing, like you're actually in a better position to help someone who is just 1 to 2 steps behind you than someone who's 20 steps behind you. And this is another big misconception because a lot of times experts and people who are further along, they forget what it's like for newbies that are starting out. So like when I started my business, I saw a lot of people that were talking about making $30,000 a month, $100,000 a month, millions in their business. And it just seemed so out of reach for me that like I didn't even entertain the idea, And instead, I ended up buying a mini course from someone who was focused on making your first $1,000 online because to me that seemed doable. And that person was like 1 step ahead of me. It wasn't like one of these $1 million business owners. It was just someone who, hey, I got started. This is what helped me make my first $1,000. And now I'm going to help you. That's what I needed at that time. So don't underestimate how much you could offer someone just because you're 1 to 2 steps ahead of them. Okay, so we're going to do this again where I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute. This time, what I want you to do is circle anything on the list that you feel you're better at than the average person. So anything where you're like, yeah, like I'm definitely 1 to 2 steps ahead than the average person on this, you're just going to circle it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the timer now. Okay, we have about 10 seconds left. So just finish circling anything where you feel like you're 1 to 2 steps ahead. All right. And let's go ahead and keep going. So this is why I said not just things that like are skills or knowledge that you have, but even things that you would consider a hobby or a passion. Write down because you don't have to be an expert. Was I an expert on the law of attraction? No, it was a passion of mine. It was a hobby. Like I liked reading law of attraction books. And, I went with it. So like you don't have to be an expert. So now that you've whittled down this list to things that you are 1 to 2 steps better at than the average person, I want you to go through each thing and you're going to ask yourself, what's one specific problem that I could solve for people with this topic? What's one specific problem you could help someone solve? Not like a whole undertaking. We're talking one thing you can help people with. So, with my subliminal example, each subliminal I created helped overcome a specific limiting belief. Okay. From there, I started getting a lot of people asking me how I was making them and like wanting custom subliminals. So that's why I ended up creating Subliminal Creation Lab to teach people this one skill. Rather than me creating like custom audios for everyone, why don't I just show them how to do it? Another example is, like I said, I would say I know a little bit more about law of attraction than the average person. So I created the Nova GPT, which is basically like AI that's trained on my methods and philosophies. So it's basically like a 24/7 version of me that can provide people with customized manifestation practices any time, day or night. And again, once I created that, I had people asking, well, how did you make that? And I was a newbie. Like I had just myself learned how to make it, but people were asking me. So I taught people how to make it. Like one specific skill. This is how you do it. I wasn't teaching them how to revamp their entire business with AI, just teaching them, here's how you do what I did. Okay. So that might help you. Like you can think about something you did that you can teach other people, like a how to do something. Or it could be more like the subliminal, where you're giving them something to consume, like an audio, a video, a meditation, a workbook, that kind of thing. So it's not just an example of like creating a product people can use, but you can also create products that teach people a skill, one specific skill. Okay, so I'll just give you another minute to work on that. Like, what's one specific product problem you can help them solve? And again, this is not the end all be all. This is a brainstorming session, okay? But the reason I wanted to walk you through it on the podcast is because most people are going to overthink it. You know, they're going to think, well, I like yoga, but I'm not a yoga instructor. I like whatever, like hypnotherapy, but I'm not a certified hypnotherapist. I like um bikes, but I don't own like an actual bike shop. You know, like just you get in your head and you self-sabotage before you even let your creativity flow. So what you've done with this brainstorming section is you've opened up that right hemisphere of the brain. You've started tapping in to your creativity and imagination a little bit. And you might even feel like some intuitive ideas popping in. You might even be like in a flow where you just want to sit down and write a bunch of things now. Go with it. Just let that, whenever you're in that state of creative flow, let it flow because it's coming through at this time for a reason. And doing an exercise like this is a really great way to get into that flow state. So, once you have just one specific problem that you can help someone else solve, that's it. That's your idea. That's where you start. You don't have to build out a whole business with a million products. You start with one simple thing. And from there, you just decide a method to deliver that. So, again, you can make a workbook, a template, a written tutorial. You could do a workshop style video or like a series of smaller videos and make like a mini course. You could create a tool like a subliminal or an 8D meditation. For example, I had a golfer take my subliminal creation program so he could make subliminals specifically for golfers that they could listen to while they're golfing that would help them like shift their mindset and relax and have more confidence in their swing. Like I don't remember all the things that were in there, but he's like, yeah, why not? Like mindset is such a big part of it. They can listen to it, you know, while they're golfing or the morning of. I've had tutors and speech therapists create subliminals for clients to help them overcome like specific problems they were working on, like that specific week. The other thing, like Nova GPT, you can create a custom GPT. You could create an AI version of you or an AI that's just like focused on one specific problem that helps people overcome that. I'll give you an example. I had a crystal shop owner take my GPT creation course, and she created a GPT that would help people determine what specific crystals would help them. So she like already had like a quiz format, and she worked with AI to flesh that all out. And this GPT asks the customers these questions to pinpoint what crystals will help them the best. So it's something she uses to make her crystal shop unique and to provide a customized experience for every single customer. And it doesn't take up any more of her time, but it does increase sales, right? Because it's giving you like specific customized examples and rituals that you can do with the crystals that you're going to purchase. And so there's just like the ideas are endless, okay? Once you have that product that's solving one specific problem, and you kind of figure out, okay, it's going to be a workshop, it's going to be a GPT, a subliminal audio, a mini course. Then you upload it to whatever platform you want. I know like Stan Store is super popular for beginners because I want to say it's like $20 a month, but I see influencers all the time that put stuff on Stan Store. I've seen people sell stuff on Etsy. I've even had clients create a free Facebook group. Like it doesn't cost them money to create a Facebook group. And they will sell their subliminals through like a PayPal link. So, I mean, there's so many options. You can look into that. Like, don't let that hold you back. There's a ton of free or very cheap options available. Um, when you're first getting started, you just want to focus on making your first sale. You can update and you can improve as you go. So don't get hung up on like, well, I don't have enough money for like, this huge platform or whatever. Just worry about making your first sale. Um, I'm at the stage where once I had made a number of sales, then I got Kajabi, which is pricey, but it does everything. It does like email marketing, courses, memberships, podcasts, checkout pages, websites, payment processing, like everything you need. But you don't need that when you're starting. You just need to make that first sale. Okay? And there's a lot of easy, affordable, and free options out there. You could do a quick Google search to or ask AI to give you some recommendations. Okay, so this, I want to talk about the last and final myth, which is myth number 4, which is I don't have an audience, therefore I can't sell anything. So we touched on this a little bit with social media, but newsflash, no one has an audience when they start. Nobody. Everyone has to start somewhere. Believe it or not. The influencers you see every day, they started with no one. They built that over time. It didn't just happen one day. They worked at it. So again, like back in the day, you could grow an audience very quickly. That's not the case anymore. And I mean, sure, there are unicorns that get lucky, but organic growth is not how most people grow their business. And that's a huge myth in the entrepreneur space that somehow you have to grow organic. If you can't grow organically, there's something wrong with you and your business sucks. No, most businesses don't have organic growth. They are paying for to get in front of people, right? Because in order to have a successful business, you need a consistent flow of new traffic. So you have to be reaching new people. And the only guaranteed way to do that consistently is with like ads, paid partnerships, etc. And I know what you're going to say because it's what I said when I started. I don't have the money to run ads. But I'll tell you, like, you're looking at it all wrong because most people will look at money spent on ads as money down the drain, but it's not. It's a investment that you get an immediate return on. So for example, like for every dollar I spend on an ad, I'll make $2, sometimes more. And I've actually developed an AI tool that tracks my analytics and makes tweaks to my ads so that they stay profitable. Like it's not hard once you get it all set up. But it's not like I'm going to lose thousands of dollars. No, you spend a little bit of money on ads, and every single day you can see if you're making money or losing money and you can adjust. So I just think like people have an unrealistic expectation that I'm only going to be successful if I have 100,000 followers. No, most of those people aren't going to see your stuff anyways. You need to get in front of people who are searching for your product or are dealing with the problem and you have the solution. And that's what ads help do. Okay. It's simply the algorithm finding your ideal customers for you, the people that are most likely to buy your product, and it's putting you in front of them. That's all it is. That's it. And let me tell you, it's a hell of a lot quicker and more effective than posting on social media nonstop, hoping that people will come across you. So if you are still stuck from the brainstorming session, maybe you felt like you couldn't really come up with a lot of good ideas. Don't worry. That's actually completely normal. This process can take time. Like it takes some self exploration. For me, when I first left the corporate world or wanted to leave the corporate world, I didn't even like have any hobbies because I was so submerged in my job that like I had nothing outside of that that I had been focused on doing, interested in. So it's okay if you don't have a lot of things that you listed or if you're really struggling with that. Um, you will find things. You just need to give yourself some time and space to explore that a little bit more. Um, I've seen this with clients of mine who got stuck on that part and then just gave up, just never got started because they're like, well, I don't have a really good idea and I just don't know what product I'm going to sell. So if that's the case, there are two solutions. Okay. The first is done for you products. Okay. I have a vault of over 100 done for you products, workbooks, ebooks, audiobooks, journals, music, oracle cards, like all things that have already been created. They are done and ready to go. You can edit them if you want to. If you wanted to like change them to match your branding, you can do that, but it's not necessary. But there's nothing that you actually have to create. They're just ready to go. And so if that's something that you need while you're going through the process of like figuring out what your ideal, product is, you can do that. People do it all day, every day. So I will link all of this below in the show notes. You could also go to lawofattractiontribe.com, but that's an easy way to just get started. Just make that first sale and start doing it, while you still have a job. So you can get that hard first step out of the way because I promise you the first step is the scariest. The second solution is that you don't have to like reinvent the wheel here, okay? Pretty much everything is a recycled idea, anyways. So take what someone else is doing successfully and apply it. So I have multiple programs where I teach you exactly how I create products. I've mentioned them throughout this. In Subliminal Creation Lab, I show you step by step how to create subliminal audios and 8D meditation audios. In GPT Creation, I show you how I make custom AI products. And those might sound complicated, but trust me, they're super easy, super quick to create, even if you're not at all techie. So I've had a lot of clients go through Subliminal Creation Lab and they're like, I just don't feel right. I feel like I'm stealing your idea of like making subliminals. That's literally why I made the course. I want people to steal this idea. I'm happy to share my ideas and my methods because I truly believe that there is more than enough abundance to go around. And I know how miserable it is to be stuck in a 9 to 5 job that you hate. I know how scary it is to start a business and like not know if you have a good product, if you're going to fail, if anyone's going to be interested in what you have to offer. So if I can make that easier by sharing what I've done to find success, then I'm all for that because I want to help people improve their lives and create freedom for themselves. So I'll leave you with this. You can do it. You can build a business around your lifestyle. You can be a stay-at-home mom with young kids and be a successful business owner. You can get started at any time and any age. The only thing holding you back is you. So if you're ready to get started, you can find all of the resources that I mentioned in the show notes. I will link them all. You can also go to lawofattractiontribe.com and check it out. But like I said, this wave is approaching. If you can get started before then, you will be in a really good position. And AI, as scary as it seems, could be the very thing that helps you manifest a life of freedom that you love and abundance that you need and want and have been trying to manifest for so long. So I hope that that motivates you to take some action, go make your first sale, and keep me posted on how you do. I'll see you in the next episode.